The angry gorilla clip. In that moment, right, when I'm pushing him and I'm all charged up and I'm like, slap yourself, and he slaps himself and I go, bang! And the minute I've done that, the second I've slapped him, in my head I'm going, oh my God. But I'm still in character, I'm like, do it again.
Welcome back to another episode of Untriggered. We are here with someone that you guys have been seeing, I think, personally for myself, from the day I came to India. I'd be sitting in front of the TV and this man was always constantly yelling at me and other people on TV.
I think the phrase you're looking for is seeing for way too long.
Not really.
Do you not want to be seen?
I think that if on a youth channel like MTV, if I've been around for 23 years,
It's a problem.
something went wrong somewhere. Right? It's a youth channel.
Yeah.
Hey MTV, thanks for all the years. I've had a lovely career and I've loved working with different people through the years. But if on a youth channel, and I'm using like those air quotes right now if you can't see it, on a youth channel, if a guy has been in front of the camera for 23 years, hello.
Oh, that's a long time. But for a reason, like you've always been a superb entertainer. Like I think the last I saw of you on MTV was the Roadies season with Kevin on,
Yeah.
where you were the gang leader.
I think that's more genetic. People with long noses tend to be good entertainers. Yeah.
Okay, what about fat noses?
Long and fat.
Yeah, because I've got fat going for me.
Yeah, so that's why you're on this podcast. And it's so popular.
Yeah.
I think it's popular. Is it popular?
It's doing
It's
doing
okay.
well.
On its way.
Like you're on it now.
It's
so
about a
like-
crash and burn now. We were doing so well and then Nikhil came on and everything fell apart.
Are you with MTV still?
We're not sure. My contract finally expired last year, but they keep calling me to do stuff once in a while. And actually, to be fair, I did stand in as a judge on Roadies, and I kind of fit the bill of being an older, sort of wiser, maybe gang leader. And there was sort of a characterization that fit. You know, Prydz is this brash, really strong guy, never loses task. Neha is this really hyper smart woman who's very incisive and decisive with everything that she does. Ranvijay is like the man, the OG. So I kind of fit this character of being the older guy that nobody messed around with.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to use expletives, Sophia?
Yeah, for
that
sure.
nobody fucked around with. So I kind of fit into that, and I was supposed to be there just for 1 year, and then it worked, and we went on for a few more years, and then the last season that I did, I ended up. I keep saying. Actually, Hamid won Roadies. The gang leaders never won Roadies. I ended up being Hamid's gang leader when he won Roadies. It's wrong for me to say I won Roadies because I did jack shit, bro. I was just like happy to be there and make the right judgment calls when I was asked to.
Hey, Amit, ठीक से कर.
He's like, Hamid, left side, left, Hamid, left. But
Yeah, he won
dude,
Splitsvilla
I mean,
as
the
well.
guy is a beast. When you wake him up, he's like so Roadies, the season that we did was split into two because of the pandemic. We were like, before the pandemic, Hamid was almost invisible because he was really quiet and shy. And then the pandemic happened, and then we got into like a bubble shoot where nobody's allowed to come in and nobody's allowed to go out. And in the time that elapsed between the time we did the first shoot and the second, Hamid took on this new lease of life. And from day one, he was so switched on, it wasn't funny. And then in that basketball task, when he sort of single-handedly tore my team apart, he was in the opposing team at that time. That was just legendary stuff, man. It was brilliant. He essentially won Roadies on one leg because his leg was destroyed. He busted his knee in that basketball task. Yeah.
Ligament or something.
Dude, Roadies has given us some really, really iconic pop culture moments. Like before we started, you were talking about that clip that's going around.
The angry gorilla clip.
Yeah.
So do you want to hear the stories behind that? So it's funny. So many of these old Roadies clips have surfaced, and people are writing me saying, "Nikhil, I can't believe you with this guy." I'm like, I can't believe you guys are taking this seriously because we did all of this for the show. This was all sort of done for the show. It was done to put people under pressure, and I can't believe that people are taking it seriously now. So Nihal, when he came up, we very rarely get people from the south because Roadies is a Hindi-speaking show, so a lot of people from the north take part. And Nihal was from the south, and I'm like, man, there's something in this kid, but it wasn't coming out. And these interviews go on, you don't know this, on TV you see 5 minutes, 10 minutes of it. But the interviews sometimes go on for an hour and 15 minutes. So we're talking to Nihal and we're pushing him, and he's sort of sitting in this chair like this, right? And he's like, yes, I want to do this. I think I can do it. I have it in me. And both Raghu and me could sense it. So we're both kind of pushing him, and it's not happening. And then finally I want to try and see if you can get him to mimic me. So I'm like, I want to see intensity. I just want you to see, like, just lose your shit for 5 minutes. Just lose it. What could go wrong? Like, if I tell you guys right now, lose your shit and go crazy, you'll probably rip this boardroom that we're sitting in apart. We just did.
Within the first 2 minutes.
And then I was like pretty fit back then and worked out and everything. And on that season of Roadies, when we were doing the interviews, we would just kind of throw people these tasks of, okay, be spontaneous. And most people, when you ask them to be spontaneous, can't really do anything because you switch off, you're under pressure, you're sitting in front of these 2 judges, you're on this audition that you really want to get into the show for. So we used to say, okay, be an angry gorilla. Be an angry gorilla. And I mean, it could be a screaming chimpanzee, be a wounded lion, it could be anything. But angry gorilla was something that came into my head. And we were saying this to a lot of people, and different people would do different versions of angry gorilla. And then when we got into this angry gorilla thing, and Nihal did some lame-ass version of it, and then I got up and I did this. And in the spur of the moment...
You were like, don't be a horny gorilla. I said angry gorilla, I think.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe something like that.
Humping the chair or something.
In that moment, right, when I'm pushing him and I'm all charged up, and I'm like, slap yourself, and he slaps himself, and I go, bang! And the minute I've done that, the second I've slapped in my head, I'm going, oh my fucking God. But I'm still in character, I'm like, do it again.
Double down.
And the unit, right, all the cameramen, and everybody realized that we'd crossed the line that we'd never crossed before. I'm like, oh shit. But nobody said anything. But at the end of it, Nihal came through, and Raghu and I felt that he had enough in him to take him through, and he was the first runner-up.
Yeah.
He almost won Roadies that year. Yeah.
I mean,
he was really good on the show. So you sometimes have a gut feeling about somebody, and you want to see that in the audition, so you feel justified in taking them in, and you feel that this guy's going to do well on the show, and he ended up doing really, really well.
Well, what kind of reactions are you looking for? Are you just, does it just need to be impactful, like whatever it is?
No.
Or like?
We're looking for people who can react under pressure. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Roadies is one of the few shows where the crew doesn't interact with the contestants. Like if there's a fight going on between 2 contestants, the crew will never say, can you do that again because it didn't get the right camera shot? So there's no interaction between them, right? So if I'm looking at you and I say, oh, I think you're trying to hide something, you're trying to hide an ugliness about yourself, which is why you have a beard. I'm saying stupid stuff to you just to see how you'll react to it.
Yeah.
And it's intentionally said. I'm intentionally saying, oh, I think you're weak, or I think you're... And 15 years ago, being gay was still considered to be, I don't want to be labeled that. So we'd say these things to see how you'd react to it, okay? And if you were able to react under pressure, then we knew that on the show, when you've got 19 other people ganging up against you, all of them trying to knock you out of the show, that pressure is way more than anything we did in the auditions. If you can react in the auditions under pressure, then we know that you've got a good chance of reacting during the show. Which means you'll stand up for yourself. You'll stand up for your buddies. You'll fight for yourself. And that's what makes the show. If you go into a shell and you go, oh, but no, I didn't mean to, then you'll never work on the show. You'll never come out. That doesn't mean you need to be somebody who's abusive and angry and shouting all the time. It just goes to say that you just need to have the strength to stand up for yourself and what you believe in.
Right.
Whatever those choices are, there's no right or wrong. I believe that people are like this. And once in a while, you'd meet somebody who was openly misogynistic or openly, racist, and we'd put them in their place. For sure, we'd put them in their place.
Destroyed those guys.
Yeah. I always wondered if there was like a conscious effort to promote that ideology in that time.
It wasn't, man. It wasn't conscious, but we realized it many years later that having people talk about molestation for one thing, and that's the subject that in India today is still very, very taboo. And this is a comedy show, so I'm not going to go deeply into it. But we all know, and most of the girls that we know in our lives, most of them, and I'm saying up to 90% of them, have been molested as children. And usually by a family member. Right? It's something that we don't talk about. Parents don't want to acknowledge it because it's usually a relative, an uncle, an aunt. And once people started saying this on Roadies, when people started confessing this on Roadies, and we were like, hey, it's okay, you can talk about it. It became this thing that Roadies was the show that stood up for virtue, morality, and for standing up for the right thing, for standing up for good things. And yes, in the past we have made mistakes. As time has changed, we've looked back on some of the interviews that we've done and said maybe some of the things that we said there weren't entirely appropriate considering how we've evolved as people. But I think the intentions behind what we were doing were very, very clear and very honorable is not the right word to use. But we're trying to set a trend or maybe show a mirror to society to say, hey, some of these things are not okay. Some of these things are okay. And one of the examples is a girl hitting a guy was considered to be, hey, you're strong. Guy hitting a girl, no, you can't do that. But the caveat over there is a girl hitting a guy in defense is okay. And I come from a place where a guy hitting a girl should never be okay. But if you're defending yourself, man, I believe in equality.
Yeah.
I do. But you have to understand that there's a massive disparage in physical strength between guys and girls. So I would still say that even if a girl hits you, hold back, brother. Hold back. Because hold back and try and walk away, but but defend yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't take it lying down. And as a girl, for sure, defend yourself. But it's not okay violence is not okay. Whichever end of the spectrum you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
I mean,
Comedy show. Comedy show. Let's return to humor.
No, I was thinking about one thing that I think Neha Dhupia said on one of the auditions, which was another clip that went viral, was when some guy in his form wrote that. क्या लिखा था उसने?
this is it's her choice clip.
Yeah. So he admits to hitting his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, and then
The reason, because she cheated on me.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going there, we'll go there, right? A lot of men, not just Indian men, believe that because they love somebody with all their heart, they have some form of right over them. And this comes from their upbringing and the environment that they grow up in, where parents have always dominated their children and say, because I'm your father, I have a certain right over you. Parental right over children is a different topic altogether, but you grow up believing that if I love you, how can you not love me? And if you don't love me, then I have the right to.
Yeah.
No, bro, you don't. You don't have the right to do shit. Vice versa to women as well.
Right.
Oh, you said you would marry me, but now you are saying you won't marry me, so I am going to... No, bro. Stuff happens. People fall in love. They think they're in love. They fall apart. They fall out of love. Get your shit together. Life is like that. Don't go to the extremes. Read some Asterix comics. Watch some TV. Go for a walk.
That's what I'm gonna say the next time I'm breaking up with someone.
How to read Asterix comics?
Go watch a sunset. Pick up a puppy dog. Give a doggy a
Together
cuddle.
for 2 years and just read an asterisk comic.
Honestly, as human beings, if you're looking for true love, there's only one solution. Get a dog.
For sure.
Get a dog, bro, because dogs are unconditional
You can't
with their
do
love.
certain things to
Even
dogs. Right?
parents.
No, but
I want to show love. Whoever I find.
You can show love to your dog. You'll get arrested.
I'll be more than arrested.
He'll be hung.
I just hope it's a Rottweiler, man, and it shows you some love in return.
That's going to be
No, but I'd say even parental love is conditional
Yeah.
to some extent. No love is unconditional, but a dog's love, man.
You have.
you have a dog.
Unfortunately not, because I travel a lot, and I would never do that to a dog. I never lock up a dog or hire staff to look after the dog. It's not my thing. But
Where do you spend most of your time?
in airport lounges,
Okay.
generally,
Traveling for gigs.
yeah, usually. But I have a home in Mumbai. My family's in Mumbai. My daughter goes to school in Mumbai, so I would say that Mumbai is base, but Bangalore's home. Bangalore's where I grew up. I don't live in Bangalore as much. My parents do, and my brother does. But I still feel Bangalore's home, and I think that's a product of where you grew up, where you went to college, where most of your friends are. That's what you feel is home. But Mumbai is base.
And Goa's work.
Goa is the pressure cooker valve coming off.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Because I think you are one of or probably the first people in India. I think it says this on your Wikipedia that you're the father of the Indian dance music scene. I read an article before coming here.
Oh,
you're the
somebody needs to
pioneer.
edit that.
You
Wiki-
started the whole.
No, I didn't
event.
start.
One of-
Jack,
Of course
bro.
you have. You're one of the founding fathers of it. And you can't discredit yourself.
Okay. I think that my wife and I had a very important part to play in the development of the subculture that is electronic music and dance music and festival culture, right? And it wasn't just the two of us. It was my partner Hermit, my wife Pearl, and I. And the thing is, we also appeared on the scene at the right time, at the right place. It was at the beginning of the internet boom. It was at the beginning of people getting to know DJs from other cities.
Right.
But before us, there were people like Akbar Sami and Medieval Pandits and Karsh Kale and Talveen Singh and DJ Ivan from Bangalore and Sunny Sarid from Delhi. These are guys who are playing in clubs. Jazzy Jeff, I mean, legendary DJ. These are guys who are the real fathers of the scene. And it's upon their shoulders that we've built our stories.
What year
But
is this?
So we started Submerge in 2003. But Akbar Sami and Sunny Sarid were around from the 1980s.
And was there a proper clubbing scene back then?
Oh, yeah. There was a clubbing scene all across India from the 80s. In the 90s, Bangalore had a thriving hip-hop and dance music culture where we would go to clubs. Really? And the reason I know dance music so well is because I was in the club Friday night, Saturday night. It's what we did. It's like where we went and hung out. You went in there at 11 o'clock and you left at 5 o'clock in the morning. And we knew all the records, we knew all the music, we knew the DJs. And if I needed to speak to anybody in the club, I knew exactly where they'd be dancing because we all had our own spots. And we did this every week. That's what we did. And this was the mid-90s. Tupac and Biggie was so big in Bangalore because there was such a massive population of students from Canada, from Africa, from the Middle East that were coming in to study in Bangalore at that point in time. And they brought their music and their culture with them. It was fantastic. I mean, Mumbai, by some measure, was quite backward in those days.
Like Bollywood? Clubs would play
Bollywood. A lot more Bollywood and a lot more mainstream pop. They weren't into underground music as much. And then the psychedelic trance scene kicked off with people doing parties in Karshad and Alantar, Ajanta and Ellora and China Creek in the middle of a mango forest. So
I think it was the same in Pune where we're from. I think for the longest time the rave scene or the techno scene was usually underground. They weren't happening at clubs. Clubs like Bombay, it was Bollywood. I remember when we came to India in 2004 and my parents, they wanted to go and see what clubbing feels like because coming from Iran, they didn't know. So they'd call it a disco. And they'd go there and it would solely be Bollywood. Like nothing else would play at clubs. This is 2004, 2005.
People wanted to dance now and that's all the music they knew.
I feel that's what still...
It is majority of people.
So when we started Submerge, we started it as a reaction to Kaliyon Ka Chaman. It was a song that was being played in every single club 5 times a night. And we said like, man, we love dance music. We just want to do our own night where we can play our own music. And when we started our own nights, the first night that we did, it was in a club of 800 people. We had 40 people. In my memory, that first night with 40 people was still one of the best parties that we did. Because the 2 rules that we made at Submerge was, number 1, we encouraged the DJs not to speak on the mic. So no, put your fucking hands in the air. No, no, this request goes out to, and it's somebody's happy birthday. We said like, try and avoid that. Yeah. And the second rule that we made was nobody, and that means nobody, including me, could tell the DJ what to play. No requests allowed.
That's the best.
Now, what that did, which was unintentional, DJs back then became DJs because they were crazy about music, because they couldn't figure anything else out. They couldn't be accountants, they couldn't be lawyers, they couldn't be businessmen. The only thing that made sense to them was music. And that is why they became DJs. When you're that kind of a person, you end up collecting a lot of music that you can't get to play in clubs, because in the clubs, you have to make the customers happy. You have to make the manager happy. So when we made that rule that a DJ can play anything you want to play, the biggest DJs in India lined up to play at Submerge nights.
Yeah.
They didn't care about the money. They didn't care about anything. They just wanted to play, because for them, it was an opportunity to showcase the music that they truly cared about and to present it to an audience. And in 3 Thursdays, it was a Thursday night. Nobody went out in Mumbai on Thursday. First Thursday was 40 people. Second Thursday was 150. Third Thursday, we were up to 650 people. Because at that point in time, there were enough people who said, enough. We just want to hear something that's new and refreshing and different. And I think what Hermit, Pearl and I did was we brought all the pieces of the puzzle together. They already existed in India. And we brought a certain structure into club culture and dance music culture.
Yeah. How did the word go around back then? Just word of mouth or like
SMS,
text?
bro.
SMS.
And flyers. We used to go to like different like shops that were selling clothes for parties and hand out flyers and go to hairdressing salons and bars and leave our flyers there. Street teams. I still think that's one of the best ways to promote marketing.
That's how Swedish House Mafia do. Like when you got them to India in 2012. I'd come for it. And the only way they'd announce it would they'd put their like 3 dots on a monument in the city that they're going to. That's it. So that's how they announce their cities.
Do you know where our 3 dots were?
Do
you remember?
No. Not here?
No. We put 3 dots all across the city.
I'm from Pune. Like I just drove down far.
In Mumbai, we took bus backs.
Yeah.
And we put 3 dots on all the bus backs in Bandra, Juhu, this side. I mean, not in every bus in Mumbai. That would have been too expensive.
That would have been way too expensive.
He ended up being in the Swedish House Mafia documentary for like 2 seconds.
Oh, nice.
That was a big deal in school.
Okay.
Like that was the...
What do you mean he was in the documentary? What does that mean?
So they do like a slow motion shot of the people as Stewies like in the front, like with tears in his eyes.
I was a child. I was like 11 year old
so
child.
we have something in similar though.
You have actually influenced my life a lot. Like,
no, I'm the
unknowingly.
only other guy in the Swedish House Mafia documentary that is not either the Swedish House Mafia or part of their core team.
Oh yeah,
There
you're
is
driving
nobody
around
else
Axwell
in the SHM documentary that is
Yeah.
not Amy, the manager,
Yeah.
Kobe, the tour manager, and
Amy's
the
there
three
in it.
boys. Yeah. Except
the-
these guys,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nobody else in that documentary except me.
Oh yes,
I'm the
I
only
remember
other guy.
this.
Driving Axwell around a Jeep
Yeah,
in Delhi.
driving Axel around in a Jeep.
Yeah.
I still remember that photo of Axel in a rickshaw that you.
Yeah,
It's
that was
an iconic photo from.
that was the first time he
2007,
came
I
down.
think. Sunburn.
No, dude.
Yeah, that was.
That was not Sunburn. This was
Then?
before Sunburn. Axwell came down to play for me at a bar in Bangalore called Fuga. It was the first time I booked Axwell to play. And that is another story because that was the second time he was supposed to come to India. The first time he came down, his manager forgot to get him a visa. So he was in Dubai calling Hermit, my partner, saying, hey, Hermit, they're not letting me get on the plane. So Hermit's like, why? He says, because I don't have a visa. He's like, why don't you have a visa? Because my manager didn't tell me to get a visa. So that his first show, his first official show got cancelled. So he didn't play that night. But then we rebooked him for 3 months later. And that was the first time he came and played in India. And he fell in love with India so much. And I was like, dude, I'm doing this festival at the end of the year in Goa. Do you want to come? And he's like, yeah, sure. And that was the first Sunburn.
That was the.
Was that the Supersonic or?
That was Sunburn in
Sunburn.
2007.
Yeah, you were with Sunburn before, I
Yep.
think. So you started. Wait, you started Submerge before Sunburn was a thing?
Submerge
like
was
the parent company.
So
Okay.
Submerge was 2003. Then
Okay.
we started doing parties on the beach in Goa. Then an event management company called Percept got in touch with me and said, hey, we want to do a music festival. The festival that they had registered online was called India International Dance Festival because I think Percept was looking at IFA. So they did IIDF.
Okay.
And the first thing that I said to them was, bro, that sounds like a Bharatanatyam conference.
Yeah.
So they had no idea what to do. I came up with the name Sunburn. I picked Goa as the venue. I found the land in Goa. Hermit's partner in a styling company, her boyfriend's father owned the land in Goa.
Okay.
My best friend in Goa, David, was our local partner. David was the owner of Tito's. So everything came together with my friends and Percept was just the event management company. 3 years after Sunburn became popular was when the two brothers realized they were sitting on a gold mine and then they tried to claim Sunburn as their idea.
Okay.
And that is when the differences started to pop up between me and them because every time I would go onto stage, I was the MTV guy. So people would know me. They would be like,
Yeah.
Nikhil.
Yeah.
And the dude from Percept would be next to me and getting super jealous because he's like, who's this guy? I'm the owner of this big company and why are they not chanting my name? So there's way too much jealousy going on there, man. And I couldn't do anything about it because I was the MTV guy.
Yeah.
And everybody knew me. And I was promoting the festival and marketing the festival and shouting from the stages. And my wife was playing the music and my best friend was doing the decor and organizing the parties. Nobody knew these guys.
Yeah.
They were essentially an event management, a very successful event management company. They did very well at producing events, but they had zero experience in the festival space.
Right.
All that experience was basically Submerge and Pearl and Hermit.
Right. So then you walked out?
I walked out. They tried to stop me. We got into
A scuffle.
a legal scuffle. So my wife gave up DJing for 2 years to fight the scuffle for me in court. And then we settled out of court after that, after 2 years. And we walked our own separate ways. I gave up everything and just walked away.
Then that's how Supersonic started?
That's how Supersonic started because I was going to build my own festival in Goa. And Viacom had just started their live division at that point in time. And I met the head of the live division and he said, hey, I've got this offer to bring this other festival down from America. I won't name the festival. And I said, why do you want to do that? Let's just build our own. So he's like, okay, sounds like an idea. So we built Supersonic. And it just kept going back and forth for a long time. And we finally got the green signal, I think on the 4th or the 3rd of December. And we built the festival in literally 20 or 21 days. Start to finish.
That lineup is still very iconic.
What was the lineup?
It had Axwell, it had Above and Beyond. Not all the
No.
members, right?
It had Ferry Costin.
It had Ferry
It had
Costin.
Above and Beyond and Benny
went for
Benassi
Above and
headlining.
We've been for Above and Beyond, yeah.
But that was a different gig.
That was a
This is
cool
2007, I think.
No, this was 2014 or 13.
2013.
Yeah.
At that gig, Above and Beyond actually had already confirmed to do another show somewhere else. And they would only go as 2 people. Above and Beyond always goes at least 2 people. Tony was going to take a holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
And I convinced him to cancel his holiday, come to Goa for a holiday, and he played that set. It was just beautiful. It was everybody was in tears at the end of the festival because the entire team at Viacom that put that festival together, it was trial by fire.
Yeah.
And every single person who was a part of that team will never forget the experience because they all know what they went through to build that festival. My favorite story from that festival was there's a girl who worked with us then, Pavneet, and we had I'm trying to remember the name of the DJ. Dutch guy. Sander Kleinenberg. Sander Kleinenberg has just gotten off the flight from Amsterdam, and his connecting flight is from the other terminal. Okay, so he's walked out of the terminal, has to get into some form of transportation, but he only has euros and his credit card. And he's calling Pavneet and saying, I can't get any transportation, I don't have any Indian money. So Pavneet has spoken to a rickshaw driver and begged and pleaded with him, saying, Bhaiya, please chhod do, unka flight miss ho jayega, please chhod do. Convinced the rickshaw driver to take Sander Kleinenberg from the international terminal to domestic terminal. Sanders just about made his flight, landed in Goa, driven to the gig, run onto stage, played a set, and then run off to get back onto the car and then back on a flight to go back home. But Pavneet convincing the auto driver in Hindi to say, Bhaiya, please chhod do, unke paas paise nahi, unke paas paise nahi. He's like, brilliant. I'm standing next to her going, what's going on? Sander Kleinenberg, she's come out of the airport, he's got to go to the other terminal.
In this tells Tuvi has a hard on right now during this conversation, man.
We've been through so many moments in this festival, and not just the crew.
Yeah.
I'm talking about artists who've been a part of the festival, fans who've come for the festival. They've seen us grow, and we always haven't been fantastic, but we've always been all heart. And that's something that's brought us back every single year, wanting to do it all over again and again and again.
Why did you guys choose Pune to...
That was the decision that Viacom took, and I think it had to do a lot to do with strategy, marketing, some financial considerations, logistical issues, administrative issues. So when you put all those pieces together, Pune seemed to be the better choice.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out for us. We attended every year.
Ever since Supersonic
the
came to town.
2017 lineup that y'all put out with Eric Prydz, Macklemore, Zed.
I chased Prydz for 10 years, bro. For 10 years. So the first year of Sunburn, when I booked Above and Beyond, and Above and Beyond came and played for free that year. They only played for flights and accommodation. They were that keen on coming to India. The agent and manager of Above and Beyond at that point in time also managed Eric Prydz. And I said, hey, listen, I'm a big fan. My wife plays his music. Pearl used to play his music all the time. And, I don't think he's ever going to come down because he's got this phobia of flying. He doesn't fly. So he said, oh, you know what, Nikhil, that's changed because he's now discovered there's a tablet called Xanax and it calms him down enough to get onto a plane and he can fly. So I'm like, great. So maybe we can bring him to India one of these days. So he said, okay, we'll talk about it. 2 years later, there's an article across the internet where Eric has cancelled 11 dates in Australia and New Zealand because he's gotten onto the plane with Xanax and he's just freaked out because he has a genuine fear of flying and he couldn't take the flight. He lost a lot of money. The promoters lost a lot of money on that thing, but all of a sudden he couldn't take those flights anymore. Okay. Over time, he's become better. And I think he gets help for it, but he has become better. In fact, I've also heard that when he has to go somewhere on a Wednesday, he'll take a flight on Saturday. Which means there have been times he's gotten on the flight and he's had to get off. He's gotten on the flight and he's had to get off. So he gives himself enough days to try again to get onto the flight, right? So he really works hard in touring because he loves playing for his fans.
Yeah.
Then the Airbus A380 happened. And they have what's called the apartment, which is the suite, which feels like an apartment. For Eric, it's the fear of being in confined spaces. For him, being in a private jet is the worst nightmare.
It's not the turbulence or anything else.
It's the confinement, right? So when the apartment happened, all of a sudden it was possible for him to start flying around the world. Right. And then the A380 came to India. And that was when I started calling the agent and said, listen, the A380 is here, we're here, we want him. And it took 10 years to make it happen.
Who would have thought so much goes into
he's
booking one
gotta have your
artist?
eyes on like so many different things just so that you like.
Yeah. Like you imagine you call an agent and you say, oh, our guy is actually scared of flying, so we can't.
तो नहीं हो पाएगा सर आज.
No, I mean, it's a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
It is.
It's an issue many people have.
But
Yeah. Do you want to talk about this year's lineup? Because I've been seeing Instagram and people are kind of pissed off.
People are really unhappy about it, I know. Yeah. But there are always people who are unhappy about it because they expect the lineup to be...
the Spotify playlist.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it. It wasn't me. But you can't make a lineup based on somebody's playlist, number one. So when I curate a festival, and this year it's not just been me, there's a team of people. I've taken a step back actually, and I'm more as an advisor. But we did take a conscious decision to move away from EDM. And the reason is EDM has seen its highlight. It's seen its high point.
Its peak,
right? It's seen its peak. When I brought Carl Craig and Awakenings into India in the beginning, I could see techno coming. And I wanted to get ahead of the curve and book techno artists. And we know how popular techno is today.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with Macklemore as well. When I wanted to book Macklemore, even internally we had a lot of issues saying, hey, but he's not a DJ, and we're a DJ-based festival. A lot of people didn't really understand what I felt emotionally or what my vision for a festival in India was all about. And it was never meant to be all about DJs. It wasn't it's not even meant to be all about music. A festival for me is about many different things, music being the most important experience, but there's so many different experiences and reasons you go to a music festival, and music is just one of them, okay? So when Macklemore happened, I could see hip-hop coming, and I could see that there was a change happening in that space, and I needed to go in that direction. And we all know how popular hip-hop is today.
Yeah.
Currently, musically, we're in a bit of a flux, okay? And we are trying different things. We are experimenting with different sounds and vibes. And I don't guarantee that all of them will work, okay? But as a festival, I believe that we should be taking risks. We should be doing things that other people are not doing. We shouldn't be booking the same lineup over and over again. And as I say that, I know people are going to say, oh, but Pradeep Kuhar is there and it's the same lineup. But dude, there are some people who are bona fide festival stars in India. And for sure, I'm going to book them. 100%. Because they deliver a great show and people are going to come to watch them at the festival, and they're going to enjoy everything else we have to offer at the festival. So we have taken some risks this year. And I'll also be the first to admit that we faced some enormous challenges in programming and booking this year, partly because of the pandemic and what has transpired because of the pandemic. Cost of living has gone up. Budgets have shot through the roof for both for equipment and for artists. Inflation has had a massive impact to play. And a lot of this is not going to make sense to the guy who just wants to go and listen to his favorite artist at the festival, right? But there's so many different layers in building the festival together that I admit that we faced challenges that have put us on the back foot this year at Supersonic. But as a festival, coming home to Pune and coming home to that ground for me is still going to be the reason I'd go. For me, if I lived in Pune, I would not care, and I still say Pune because I stay Bombay. I would, if I lived in Pune, I would still go to the festival because for me, that's my annual go-to, man. This is what I want to do. I just want to go back on the field. I want to see those faces. I want to see there are people that you recognize from the crew. The crew will recognize the faces that they see on stages each time. The artists just want to come back out onto a field and play to people. There's that community of all of us getting together. And I'm not just kind of blowing sunshine up my own ass or the festival's ass by saying, come for the experience because the artists don't matter. For sure, the artists matter. For sure, we've dropped the ball a little bit on the artists this year. And it's not our best lineup ever. I won't say that. But I still think it's worth getting out of your house that weekend and coming to Supersonic.
100%.
Because it's going to be freaking magic.
It's though, like, I really like how you said that you've taken risks to, like, with the kind of lineup that you've gotten, because it's through those risks that people can find and explore different artists. When we, like, remember when I think he got Polyphia for one of the years, and we were unaware of them. And then we just sat down, we were like, okay, let's check these guys out and see. We lost it. We were moshing in that crowd. And it was only because of that risk that now I have them in like 10 playlists of mine.
See, that's the thing. And I can't stress this enough. When you go to a music festival, for sure, make a calendar for yourself of who you want to watch when, of your favorite acts, but leave gaps in there to discover people that you've never heard before. Last time around, we had Sampa the Great. I can't... what an incredible set that was. Okay. In fact, today on Twitter, I ran a contest because somebody's saying, oh, if the festival lineup is so great, Nikhil should be increasing the price of the tickets. Why are the prices still low? So I said, hey, if you know music so much, tell me what my favorite booking of VH and Supersonic ever was. Any guesses? Any guesses? Any guesses? Not Sampa?
Stewie?
Let me think.
But I'll give you a clue. It's an artist that you want to take a risk with. You don't know whether it's going to work. And when it does work, it's very satisfying. So it's not the obvious. I mean, yours won't obviously
it's not the
work.
headline.
Skrillex will obviously work. Eric Prydz for sure, obviously going to
Is
work.
it
So
MGK?
No.
Two-Door Cinema Club.
One of the best sets of the festival that
They
year.
were so good.
So
They were
good.
so good.
I'm sure it's not Jaden Smith though.
I think it's
Jaden was a great booking as well.
But
I wish he had played longer, man. He only did 30
we were really
minutes.
excited for that because he was blowing up that year. I thought
that was when he put Sai around, no?
So I'll tell you, it was also the year that Alt J and Incubus played.
Bonobo.
No.
It
was.
I love that.
No.
That's already.
So Alt J was day one.
Who all were there?
Incubus
Major
was day
Lazer was
two.
there.
Day three. Who was in day two? Headlining our main stage.
Headlining?
Yeah.
Major Lazer. Marshmallow, Major Lazer.
Stewie, you really should get this, dude. If Stewie doesn't get this, he's a fraud, dude. Come on.
Headlining act on that day.
Kaun tha, bro?
All J, Incubus. So as a festival curator, I'm like, I've got two solid acts on Friday and Sunday. I'm going to take a risk on a Saturday. And it's Saturday. It's my main day. I'll take a risk.
They were the headliner?
Yeah.
Oh, Illenium was the
No, bro.
headliner.
And I remember I went for...
We had gone for...
We went for Illenium. I remember that. It was the year before
I
that.
was watching and I almost jizzed my
You're
pants.
probably
and
not going to recognize the name either, but I will encourage you to go to YouTube and watch some of their live shows. There's 7 brothers, same father, all black, all play music instruments,
Coco.
brass instruments,
instrument
hypnotic brass ensemble. Dude, if you can ever imagine a rave and a mosh pit to brass instruments and live music and jazz and funk and hip hop, they were insane. And most people at the festival didn't know who they were. But it was one of those acts that he said, oh, not heard them. Let me just see what they're all about. Every single person who was on that stage didn't leave. And for them, it was the best experience ever. Yeah. And invariably, the surprise acts, the ones that you don't know about, that catch you by surprise, are the ones you're going to enjoy the most. Not the ones that you already know, right? And Hypnotic Brass Ensemble was so good. So good.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying for me as well.
Fuck, I missed...
I think
And a lot of people have missed it because they're like, oh, I don't know. And we had a lot of great acts that year. That's the thing, right? So many people wouldn't have caught Hypnotic Brass, but the people who were there, I think there must have been about 3,500 people on that stage, 3,000 people. It was just nuts because they come on all dressed in their white shirts and black ties. But the third song, shirts are off, bare-chested with their brass instruments, dancing on stage, jumping, leaping off chairs. It was just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And there's another act like that. I won't tell you who. I want to bring down one of these days, years to India. And when I do, I'll get in touch with you. And we'll,
for sure. Okay, so who
we'll do a chat.
who should we discover, look forward to this year?
Yeah,
Are
is there
there
like
any
a underrated artist list that
Bob
you want to-
Moses.
Yeah.
Bob Moses is the one that I would kind of single out and go and check out. Inalia's live show should be interesting. Tiger's going to do what Tiger does.
Yeah.
And, honestly speaking, a lot of people... There's been a lot of hate about Anne-Marie as well.
Yeah.
But that girl knows how to put on a live show. You may not vibe with her music, and for that matter, a lot of people didn't vibe with what Hypnotic Brass Ensemble play as music. But you watch them on stage, blew you away. Last time, Fever 333. You might not be into that form of rock or metal, but man, that show on stage, just the three of them.
The sound system.
Oh, by the way, I wasn't there for sound check. So when I saw that guy go up that pillar and climb all the way to the top of the stage, I almost pulled the plug on the show. I was standing on the side of the stage and I spoke to the stage manager. I said, dude, I think we need to pull the plug. He said, no, don't do anything because
dangerous?
I saw them rehearse this. This is part of the show. They rehearse it, so they kind of know what they're doing when they climb up to the top of the stage. I'm like, shit. I almost went to the sound console and went, pull the fucking show.
Health risk. Even Machine Gun Kelly did that.
MGK also, he really threw down an amazing show. I mean, he's known for his diss track with Eminem, but the guys who watched him, brilliant.
I was
Wait, let me put this across. So that
I exaggerated, bro.
No, I'll tell it as it was. So that year when you all put out Machine Gun Kelly, amongst everyone, I was the only one who used to listen to his other music, like his punk rock and all of that. And then that year I told Amin, I was like, let's go to the stage. He knew like 3-4 songs of his. We went to the stage. After that, when we came back, Amin's phone cover, like your wallpaper, was Machine Gun Kelly.
And he had his tongue out.
Nice.
He was so in love with him that year.
Okay, so the other thing to look out for this year, and this is my, you know when I did Macklemore and I saw hip hop coming, and I did Carl Craig because I saw techno coming. This year I booked a guy called CK. Now CK is most known for that one song that went viral on TikTok, but he's coming down with his band. You've got to watch this guy perform on stage with the band. And this is going to be the beginning. I'll say it here first because by the time we have this conversation 2 years later, you'll know what I mean. Yeah. This is going to be the beginning of Afro exploding in India.
For sure.
You're listening to Afro on the way here.
It's already
here. See, that's the thing. When I booked Macklemore, hip hop was already here. Most people didn't know it. I've booked CK this year, and now watch the other festivals follow us next year.
Yeah.
And let's see how many Afro artists they booked. And by the way, Black Coffee is not an Afro artist. Black Coffee is a pop artist that's considered to be in the techno space. When I'm talking about Afro, I'm talking about Amapiano. Yeah. And you'll see that explode in India over the next few years.
Yeah.
There's so many artists that are doing well here anyway. Like a lot of people I know listen to Burna Boy and Wizkid and all these guys.
Rema now.
But it's not in the public spaces as yet.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Indian musicians are also, like, I listened to this Punjabi song the other day, which is on an Afro beat.
Yeah, they're getting inspired by
Bacha has put in music with like an Afro beat.
It's going to happen. So I booked Rema to play Dubai. I was supposed to do another festival on the 3rd of March. and that festival ran out of funding, but I was programming and curating it. And the first artist that I booked about 6 months ago was Rema.
Oh,
and then that was before Calm Down came down.
Oh.
Just today in the car we were discussing how Rema should have come.
That song's gone bang.
Yeah. Have you seen that clip of him on stage where they
just
play that
standing.
song and he's just standing and the crowd is singing the whole song?
He also played Afroworld in Dubai last weekend. It broke my heart because he was supposed to play for me.
Do you feel like you have a knack to identify these guys before they go
I have a knack of bringing artists in too early and screwing it up. Because they're not ready. The scene's not ready just yet. When I brought Yotto in, when I brought Stefan Bodzin in, it was way before they exploded. And with Illenium, actually, I was offered Illenium as a support artist for Marshmello 3 years ahead of time. And I said, no, we're going to hold this boy back because I think he's going to be big. If he had come in, you've got to understand people's perception as well. If he had come in as a support artist for Marshmello, we could never have put him up as a headliner for Supersonic. Yeah. Because the fans would have gone, like, but he's not a headliner, he's a support artist. So I held Illenium back so that I could bring him in as a headliner. And I think I brought him in at the right time when we brought him in last time.
But don't you feel that that'll push the wave in India?
I think maybe it will push the wave, but it kind of, we're not able to maximize the potential of that artist because you know there's a certain amount of money that you spend on creating the hype and building the buzz and bringing that artist down, and then when that artist tips over, like Bodzin is a great example. Most people don't even know he played Supersonic. He played a back-to-back set with Mark Romboy the first year that Awakenings happened, and many people don't know he played because they were on some other stage. They didn't know who Bodzin was, but that album of his was just incredible. The one I think it was called WIR. Was it 10? Sure. I'm not sure the name of the album. Brilliant. I remember the visuals from that album as well. But I heard that and booked him. I heard Yotto's Personal Space and I went, man, this guy's special. Yotto played on a stage for 3,000 people at Sunset, one of the best sets of the festival. There must have been less than 150 people on that stage. And now he comes to India and sells out every single place that he goes to.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ben Bomber as well, man. I brought him to play at Satellite to maybe 250, 300 people that year. And then Father Ocean had already come out, but Father Ocean took about a year to explode and become what it became.
This year you guys have gotten a lot of Indian hip hop artists as well, which is again like that scene has also blown up. So was that you or was that the team?
No, that's the whole team, man. I mean, we've been backing hip hop for a while now, but I have to confess that I'm not the expert in every single genre that there is. So there needs to be a team. Yeah. In the past, I've headed the curation team. This year, I've taken a step back from heading it, so I'm not taking the final call on it. But we've been working as a team for a while now.
Okay. Are you hosting this year as well?
Yep. You'll hear my voice on stage.
Yeah, that's such a familiar voice for people who just, because that voice is always there between the
stages.
So wherever you're going, walking around, you'll always hear.
Do you remember MC?
Say some shit.
MC Stretch? Yeah, bro, that guy was too much fun.
One of the funnest MCs.
MC Stretch unfortunately couldn't make it this year, and Rohit Parker. Rohit Parker is going to be in Bangalore hosting a main stage event, which is there. But it's going to be me solo this year. So you'll hear a lot of me. Kind of like your parent waking you up early in the morning for school.
You're going to be jumping from stage to stage?
Yeah, which is why I've been hitting the gym regularly and doing some miles on the treadmill.
But doesn't that ruin the festival experience for you, running around like that?
Honestly, I've never enjoyed my own festivals. I can't because there's so much stress. There's so much going on in my comms. I'm checking what's happening with the hospitality team.
Managing the entire
with security.
thing.
I'm not managing it. We've got excellent teams that manage it, but I have control issues. I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's happening in the medical tent. I need to know what's happening in the box office. I need to know whether the beers have arrived and they're cold. And we're constantly developing science. You know, we've got a lot of feedback from Lola that just happened this time.
It was horrible.
It's a fantastic festival by all measures, but everybody said that the bar service apparently was not great. And it's always been a constant effort to try and get a drink to you in under 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Because if there's 5 people standing in line, 90 seconds into 5 is about 6.5 minutes. So it takes a lot of time for the 5th person to get a drink.
Yeah.
So and if that time goes up to 2 minutes, then it's 10 minutes to get a drink. It's way too long to stand in line to get a drink.
Yeah, that's a horrid thing.
So we're always working on that science to kind of get the drink out to you faster. And we're not there yet, but we're always working on it. And those are some of the aspects of the festival that I like to concentrate on.
Yeah.
So I never really get to like stand and listen to a set.
Yeah.
But then what about like after the everything is done, is there some sort of relief that okay, this is what I wanted it to be, and this was on point?
I don't really look at it that way. I'm already thinking of what we're going to do the next time around. In fact, this time at the festival is the first time ever at Supersonic I've allowed myself to play a set. I never play a set at the main festival.
You're playing
ever.
back to back with
I'm playing back to back with Brown Coat. I never, ever, ever do that. This is the first time ever.
How does that feel, playing at your own festival?
I'm playing with one of my best friends, so it should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a party.
We'll have a few drinks lined up on the side.
Yeah.
Just to give us a little...
push.
You don't really need a push, but just to have a little bit of fun. I think
fun on stage.
Yeah, you want to have fun.
stage party.
Yeah.
That'll be the vibes.
Stewie gets wasted when he's playing.
When he DJs?
No, I never get wasted. Now I only play sober. Now that's my...
Chance one time though, I couldn't even see him. It was just
thing
a
is,
desk. Like, there was nothing.
when you start playing sober,
That's when
you
it's a lot more fun.
you realize how good or bad you are when you're
Yeah.
playing drunk.
Yeah.
No, it happens. So when you're drunk and you're like trying to queue up your song, you can't see. You don't know whether you queued up the right song or
Dude,
not.
that's called being blind drunk. I'm never freaking blind drunk. You can't see.
I have been shit-faced only once while playing.
Why?
Once. But after that, I learned
Did he
my
throw up
lesson
on the
there.
mixer?
No, no.
I have stories of DJs who did,
Ooh.
but not here.
Not here. That's such a expense, bro. Throwing
It
up
is
on the
expensive, bro.
CDJ.
Yeah. No, the mixer, man, is
Oh, the mixer is
the
even-
mixer is more expensive. It's like even more expensive kit.
What's the wildest thing you've seen at a gig? Ever?
Yeah, just people making out, I think. But that's
not
par
wild.
for
That's
the
not wild.
that's par for
Has
the
anyone
course.
like thrown their bra at you or something? Like,
I am very rarely the guy on stage.
how? But we like usually
Number one, and I'm also not the kind of guy that girls take the panties off for.
Oh, come on, I'll give you an example.
I'll do it right now, Nikhil. I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. The wildest thing that I've seen is, I mean, I've seen a lot of funny stuff. I was at Awakenings one year in Amsterdam, and people are still buzzing after the festival. So we're all walking out of the festival, and there was a bridge. There's a little moat outside the festival, and there's a little metal bridge, which must have been about maybe 20 feet wide. So enough people. And somebody had got a little boombox, like those little JBL speakers that you have, the tiny ones. Yeah. They put it down, and they had a phone next to it, and they were playing music at this volume, and there were 4 people dancing around it because they didn't want the music to stop. Like on the bridge after the festival, people still dancing to it. That was pretty cool.
That's cute. That's like wholesome.
One of the nicest things that I've seen done at a festival, again at Awakenings, I was with Rocco. We were driving around in his golf cart going around the festival. And I forgot who it was that year, but their team had just lost something in football. It was a country, and the guys were from that country. And Rocco was like, you guys are here and whatever, you're from this country. And he said, I'm really sorry for what happened to your football team. And there must have been about 18 of them, 19 of them. He gave them all backstage brands and said, come and have a drink with me backstage.
Oh.
Wow.
So it's just like stuff like that is what makes you feel like, I
it
want to be a part of this community. I want to be a part of this family that goes out and hangs out and helps each other and looks after each other and sort of gives each other imaginary cuddles.
Right. What happens backstage? I feel like everyone always thinks, oh, what do these artists do when they're backstage? Because there's like 100 artists at the same place. And
Backstage usually is a whole bunch of people who don't belong there trying to look cool. Usually, that's the scene.
groupies?
Not groupies. Usually people from the industry. Sometimes groupies.
Who have somehow gotten like a VIP pass.
And you also have a lot of artists chatting with each other because there's one place where artists tend to get to catch up with each other. Yeah. If you're a well-known artist and if you're successful, invariably you're playing somewhere on a Saturday and the guy that you want to hang out with is playing somewhere else on a Saturday. Right. So you never ever get to meet. So at a music festival is where you get to actually meet people and say, hey man, I love that track of yours. Do you think we could do something together? Like Guy J and Jeremy Olander did a back-to-back set for us at Supersonic, I think in Goa, 2015, 16 maybe. And they've been best friends ever since, and they've released music on each other's labels. They met at Supersonic. So a lot of these sort of connections happen backstage, but generally fluffy people hanging out doing fluffy things.
Trying to network, or they're just like trying to...
Networking does happen. I will confess that I've managed to do more deals at 3 a.m. backstage over a conversation with an agent than I have over 300 emails.
Right.
Like literally in 10 minutes, I can lock a deal down at 3 o'clock because, you can actually get down to the nitty gritty of things and you can do the deal and you can confirm it the next day over email.
Yeah.
So yeah, networking does happen backstage.
What is the... I have all these questions I've always wanted to ask. What is the weirdest or like the craziest demand an artist has had?
On their rider.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I am
Never
actually
named the
no. I wouldn't be able to if you did, bro. But I'm the guy who just has no problems in saying no to artists.
Right.
It's like, you want this? Not available. No. And I pushed my luck. I remember Axwell and I, we became good friends after that Bangalore gig, and he came and he played. And then the Swedish House Mafia released One. And Axwell was coming to play Sunburn that year as well. So his manager, Amy, and I have become sort of frenemies at that point in time. I learned a lot from Amy. I mean, she's such a hard-nosed agent, but she's very good at what she does. And Amy was on the phone because I have sent an email saying, no suite for Axwell. We give a regular deluxe room to all our artists, and Axwell will get one. So she's got me on the phone and she said, Nikhil, Swedish House Mafia's One has just sold 35 million copies or whatever it is around the world, okay? Axe is your friend and he's coming and playing for you at a rate that he hasn't played anywhere else in the world this year. You're fucking giving him that room, or I'm cancelling this deal. And if you ever fucking call him to tell him I've said this to you, you and I are never doing business again. And I'm like, okay, Amy, I'll give him a suite. I'll give it to him. He can no, but I mean, haq se, yaar, of course. I mean, deluxe room, I mean, haq se, but I was just being hard-nosed, you know. And every time an artist says, I want a bottle of champagne, I'm like, nahi hai, yaar. You're being paid to play a gig. Just come and fucking do your job. Yeah. Right? And I'm happy to be hospitable. Listen, honestly, I'm happy to be hospitable, but artists who believe that it's the festival's responsibility to take care of them and get them drunk 3 days in a row, shut up, bro. I'm happy to be hospitable, and I'm happy that you're here with your family and your friends and your mom and your girlfriend, and I'm more than happy to be hospitable. Your mom wants some special access, like she's a vegetarian, for sure I'll do that because we're Indian. We'll take care of you. But when you start to push it and you start to get demanding, then I'm like, dude, fuck off. Really. And there's nothing like Indian hospitality. This much I will guarantee. We will go out of our way to take care of you and to look after you. But when some young Indian artist will say, oh, you haven't got a bottle of Ciroc for me, I'm not going on a stage. I'm like, bro, you know what? Don't go on a stage. Who's the next DJ? Go.
Yeah. Has anyone said that?
Yeah. This is a real life incident.
This is a real life thing?
Yeah. And then they got on the stage 2 minutes later.
Bitch. Singing get lost.
Oh, man. Did you ever see that Justin Bieber rider that was leaked?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently?
That went crazy. That went viral.
Don't you know that was leaked intentionally to drive hype on the show?
Yeah.
No, but was that real?
How the fuck do I know? Does it look like I care?
I thought it came out after the show.
No, it was before, where everything he wanted was...
Again, hanging out with Axwell. He's playing at Ushuaia. He has his private like green room thing. They have given him a bathtub filled with ice with every single alcohol imaginable. And Axe is like, dude, I don't drink. You help yourself to whatever you want. Because he was like on a detox at that point in time. Like, help yourself to whatever you want. I'm like, but isn't this all yours? He said, I never asked for this. My agents do. So it's the agents that want to show that they're doing a really good job for their artists. They will put in these crazy demands. The artists don't give a shit. They want to come there. They want to do their job. They want to get back to the hotel room, get some rest, on to the next city. A successful artist, 9 times out of 10, is super professional. They will not be like hanging out and doing after parties and getting drunk or getting wasted. No time for that.
Yeah, I've seen that with a lot of artists where you have this idea of that these guys, they play the sold out gig and they're party animals after with girls around, and they're just like chilling in one corner,
exactly
looking for dinner because they want to eat and go home.
Favorite part for me was Bonobo came to our after party suite where we were all just hanging out and chilling, and he did an after party set for us on a writing desk with 1 speaker and 2 CD players. And I'm standing in front of him. There must have been about 7 or 8 of us in the room. I'm standing in front of him going, I am right now standing in front of Bonobo, and he's playing in this hotel room for like 8 of us. It was surreal. Like just that. And he was just chilling. He had his bag with him and he was like having a beer, relaxing.
Well, that's
totally
love.
shanti.
Like he's doing that out of love.
I felt like it was surreal just being in the crowd, dude. Imagine being in a room with him and he's fucking playing for you.
Was he playing music that he usually plays, or was it like stuff that you would never expect him to play?
No, it was what he usually does play, but just more of it and just more sort of ethereal because of
he's right there.
Where we were.
Yeah. Okay, I have this thing with techno. Okay, I've never really gotten into it. Okay, and I'm starting to think you can't enjoy it unless you're on substances. So.
What, techno music?
Yeah.
Not true.
No? You don't like techno either.
I do.
People used to say the same thing about Pink Floyd's music. I disagreed with them then and I disagree with them now.
Okay.
Like even dubstep, drum and bass, I wake up and I listen to that shit.
Okay.
Like
but-
it's for most people it's not.
But there's so much more happening in dubstep and drum.
Yeah.
There's so much more happening in techno, bro. What
Techno
kind of
is
techno are you listening to?
Maybe really bad techno. I don't know.
I don't know. So the thing is, when you listen to heavy metal as well, and I listened to a lot of it growing up through college, my dad used to always say, "What is this noise you're listening to?" Because if you don't know the music, it does sound like noise.
Yeah.
You know, Slayer does sound like noise. Metallica, some of the older albums does sound like noise. But if you know what you're listening to, and if you're listening to the bass line, you're listening to Iron Maiden's drumming used to be insane. Their bass, Steve Harris on bass was fantastic. But if you know what you're listening to, then you have a way of appreciating and understanding that.
Right.
It's the same thing with techno as well. You know, a lot of people say it's monotonous. It's the same song. Isn't there? You know, when does the music start? Why are there no words? I feel the same way about a lot of Bollywood hip hop. When is the real music going to start?
Right. But that culture does exist though. Like in the rave culture, a lot of it is there are people on substances. Like you go out to a club in the bathroom, you see it happening.
Yeah, the common assumption is that okay, these people have probably popped something. And that's
There
why
is.
they're
I
enjoying
won't
themselves.
deny that there is a fair amount of recreational pharmaceutical use in all aspects of music, not just any one form of music. But what I've seen is that when it comes to like having a beer and having a drink, alcohol makes you more sociable. You're kind of hanging out, so it becomes like something you do socially. And I'm not talking about drugs right now. I'm talking about alcohol. And if I was to try and figure out why people did drugs when they went to, for example, a party that went on for 24 hours, it was to be able to party for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be able to do that on eating a sandwich and a slice of cheese.
Yeah.
But it's not because of the music, it's because you want to now rage or have a bender or whatever it is. It's like people claiming to say, मैं तो एक पूरा bottle पी लेता हूँ, एक खंबा मेरे लिए. Dude, I don't think that's normal.
Yeah.
That's
Just the same
definitely
way I don't
not.
think doing drugs
You have
is
a problem,
music is normal.
dude.
So I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Your
So
fucking problem.
the problem is not the music. The problem is what it is that you want from the experience that you're having. Because I still believe if you take the music away, these people will still do drugs.
Yeah.
So it's not about the music. It's about you and how you want to, quote unquote, enjoy yourself or not enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I guess it's very often that it's always associated with, when you say raving, that whole culture, it's associated with drugs, and that's
Rave culture for me is more about a community coming together
Yeah.
under music. It has very little to do with drugs. Rave culture is actually a very supportive, unifying culture.
Yeah.
It's not about doing things that are illegal.
And I think that started from like way back when tribes would play instruments and dance together. That's what raving
Exactly.
was back then. This is just a different form of it, which is evolved now, and there's equipment and there's
Technology.
artists, DJs. Before they probably bang a tree trunk to like the wood, and then now they have pen drives.
But I will say this. I wish we could do better education about the harmful effect of drugs, because
Yeah.
most people don't understand what they're doing. And I believe that people today are intelligent. If you tell them how things work and what is happening or what is doing to their bodies, they will make intelligent choices.
Right.
And there's evidence for this, because across the world, there are many places that do over-the-counter drug testing.
Yeah.
Which means if you go to a music festival, you can actually give them the drugs that you have. They'll test it and they'll tell you how pure or not pure it is or what it's mixed with.
Yeah.
And the data that comes out of that shows that when people are told what they're taking and how adulterated it is,
Yeah.
most people don't do it.
Yeah.
This is done like in the queue. Whoever's in the queue gives their
Yep.
drugs, and
You
they
have-
get these tests done on the spot.
Instantly, yeah. Right there, you have tents in a festival. It's called over the counter testing, and they'll tell you. And it's shown that people will not do drugs. It's the same thing with social media. Just telling people that social media is bad is not going to work.
Yeah.
It's like telling a teenager that sex is bad. You know
Yeah.
they're going to do it. You're at that age, it's going to happen. But if you educate people about how algorithms work and how they emotionally trigger you and release hormones and enzymes in your body that make you feel worthless and therefore want you to come back to that platform and post another picture and get more likes, and why do you feel so horrible when you get a negative comment? Why do you feel so happy when you get a positive comment? How does that algorithm keep you on that platform or on that website? Then I think you'll get to understand what kind of an impact it's having on you and how to deal with it better, because it's a reality. You guys know that when it comes to Netflix, a simple platform like Netflix, based on what you normally view on Netflix, the thumbnail shown for you for the same movie could be different for you, and for me. So if I watch a lot of romantic movies, the thumbnail for an action movie will be a romantic scene.
Right, yeah.
And Netflix, how many times have you guys gone there and just browsed and not actually clicked on something?
Almost all the time.
It's
Yeah.
designed to keep you on. So this is an algorithm that's figured out how to keep you engaged and staying on that platform, even if you don't watch a show. Every single social media platform and algorithm is designed to do that.
Yeah.
And if you educate people about that, people will make informed choices. If you educate people about alcohol, teenage pregnancy, about drugs, people will make informed choices.
Yeah.
The need is education.
Yeah. We've spoken about this a lot of times on this podcast. Like, we do make jokes about it, but then at the end of the day, none of us got sex education in school, right? None of us got...
The issue is, by the time sex education came around, all of us knew how things worked. It happened in the 9th or 10th grade. Which 9th or 10th grader has not already figured out
Today, no one.
how reproduction works? So anything that has to do with gender fluidity, sex education, what I call internet education, needs to happen from the 3rd grade onwards, 2nd grade onwards, 1st grade onwards. And they need to be fed to you in modules, much like how your mathematics changes over the years and you're fed more and more complex ideas as you get older. The same thing needs to happen with all of these platforms and sex education and social media and drugs and pregnancies and everything.
Are you thinking of exploring different forms of schooling for your daughter? Or like, is the standard?
I grew up in an ICSE school, and right now I'm confused as heck because she's in a school that has a completely different way of teaching.
Like Montessori or something?
She started off in Montessori, but now she's, I think she's in an IB sort of strain. My wife knows about it better. But the stories that she tells me about what she's learning in school every day has me fascinated. It's an amazing school, and I wish I could have spent more time in a school like that myself as I was growing up. But then we grew up, man, and here we are, sitting around a room having a chat about a music festival that I really enjoy doing, and I think my life is in a happy place, and I've managed to achieve a lot of things that I didn't know I wanted to achieve, but I've ended up achieving anyway.
Yeah, and you've done everything that you've done. Most of them are things that you love doing, like music. You wanted to DJ, you DJ around the country. You love music, you have a music festival, you did radio, you did roadies, everything that you've done.
I'm doing scuba diving. A lot of scuba diving now.
What,
Yeah,
is
you
that
like
a
scuba
hobby
diving?
It's the one thing that I like to lock the world away for and go away once in a while.
Where do you go? You're doing Goa?
I do a lot of scuba diving in the Maldives because it's really close. It's a 2.5-hour flight, and I have lots of really good friends there, and we just go diving off on our own. I just came back from Palau. I do one trip a year with my brother and some of our close friends, and this year it was Palau, which was fantastic because there's so much of World War II history and so many stories about what happened in that region at that terrible time of our history. So that was very interesting as well. So yeah.
I know, man, living the life.
And,
Yeah, man.
And then
He's worked for it.
trying to keep a 5-year-old engaged and like, hey, let's play a new game. Shit, what's that game gonna be? I've got to come up with something new.
I've just got relatives who like make up games like on the fly only. They're like, okay, and then they're telling them the story, and then the story is just unveiling itself in different ways which haven't been planned.
Yeah.
Improv.
How do you answer the questions that you don't know the answers to? Because kids ask a lot of questions.
So I have, both my wife and I, we've decided that we will never ever lie to a child. And if it's a question that she asks that involves a slightly older age in terms of exposure or in terms of what they understand, then our answer usually is that's a great question and you're going to learn about that as you grow a little older. And wherever possible, we tell her the truth.
Yeah.
In a way and language that she understands. But if we feel that it's a subject that's more complex for her and might end up confusing her, and she accepts that. She says, okay, so I'm going to learn about this when I'm older. Fine.
Does she know that Santa isn't real?
Yes, but she also thinks that the concept of Santa is very real.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good place to be for.
That's a very confusing place for a 4-year-old, man. I wouldn't be able to handle that. It's like Santa's not real, but the concept of Santa is real. Like, I know he's not real, Papa, but he's real.
But he's real.
Still getting my presents.
Yeah, well, that's how it should be. You don't want your kid to be the last person to find out Santa isn't real in the classroom. But has that changed your life in being a father? Because every man that I've spoken to who has a child, they're like, this is how I was, but then this
This is
changed
what I
my
am
life.
now.
I don't think it's changed my life, but it is going to help me evolve as a person, because I believe that the examples that I set to her as her father will define who she chooses as a life partner when she grows older. Yeah. I'm going to be setting the standards for her. And I'm fully aware that she may not choose a man as a partner, right? But the standards that I set for her as being a parent will define what kind of person she eventually says, this is who I'd like to spend my life with, or this is who I'd like to spend some time with as she grows older. So those examples are very important, which means the way I treat my wife, her mother, are very important. Right. Because then it teaches her how women in a marriage should be treated. And the way her mother treats me is also equally important, because it shows her what that relationship between a husband and wife should be.
Yeah. Do you let her go on the internet?
No.
No, not at all.
Not
4, bro.
5.
Yeah, but kids nowadays just know how that shit works.
No screen time. Cartoons once in a while, lots of books, puzzles, make-up games, stories.
Paint, Lego.
So she hasn't seen any of your roadies clips.
No.
Will you show it?
Ready for that day?
Oh,
I mean, she's seen clips of me DJing, and she's like, "Oh,
what is that?
DJ. What is that? Okay."
That'll be hilarious.
She's seen clips of her mum DJing, and she's like, "That's what I want to do when I grow up." And her mum's like, "No."
Yeah, would you want that for your daughter to DJ?
I don't care one whack for what she does, as long as she's happy, bro. It doesn't matter. I have zero ambitions for her beyond the fact that I would like her to be happy and fulfill whatever potential and ambition she has.
That's
even if she has
beautiful.
none, it's fine.
That's what
That's
every
how we
kid
should.
can ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably our audience is sitting at home thinking like,
ऐसा तो कभी कुछ मिला ही नहीं.
Dude, not everybody's gonna be whoever you think the ideal person in the world is.
Yeah.
Come on, you want your kids to be happy. And you can find happiness in so many different ways. So many different ways. You just have to create an environment where they can go out and say, hey, I'm happy with this. I don't want to be that. I don't want to crave that or envy that or want this or be jealous of something else or, be miserable because I'm trying to achieve something that I'm not good for. I don't want to do. Just like, bro, find your sweet spot. Find your sunset, your little patch of sunshine. It's cool.
and that's beautiful. This was
a proper educational podcast.
Man, I was like
Yeah.
sat there with like a wise man.
So that was the
Full
bucket
circle,
that I
full circle.
Full
Yeah.
circle.
Roadies, that was the bucket that I finished.
This is how we started.
Yeah. This was great.
We'll look forward to our sunshine next week.
We're
going to be at Supersonic.
all of us.
Fuck yeah, dude.
People who are watching, I'll put a link in the description. Go get your tickets. All of us are going to be there. Nikhil is going to be there, and it's going to be it's the best festival that we've attended.
sure.
Look, the only thing that I will say is that if you're coming to Supersonic, and it's okay if you don't want to come because you don't like the lineup, you don't like me, or you don't like you, whatever it is, whatever your reasons are. But if you are going to come, for God's sake, please come early. Because there is so much that goes on at the festival. And the festival really is beautiful when there's few people there. Once it gets really packed, there's only that much of the festival you can enjoy.
I agree.
Just get out of bed. Just get out of bed and just get to the field, man. There's lots of shade, so it's not like मेरे को sunburn हो जाएगा, मैं अभी नहीं आ सकता, and that is a real problem with us Indians. Like, bro, you're brown already. Calm the fuck down. It's okay. So come early. There's lots of shade. I think we've got happy hours as well. So one for one. Pre-gaming.
Lots of shade, lots of alcohol, man.
And you get to like chill out. Why would you stay at home? Bro, you stay at home all the fucking time. Just get on the field and just chill.
This
Like,
year
do
we'll
that.
Stewie would turn up at 10 now, I swear.
I cannot. I always come by.
I have a request for you. Can you slap him on stage if he turns up late?
Again.
Slap yourself.
Only if he agrees to do it first himself.
Slap myself.
Oh man, chalo. This was great. Thank you for doing
My pleasure,
this.
So much for doing this.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing this. Hopefully we'll do another one next year.
Yes.
Yes.
Chalo.
If there is a next year.